This is a baby grow. Can you see what that says? It says been inside for 9 months. We have been looking at this for days going, oh my God, I hope that's not true. I hope we're out before the 9 months is up.
Today we're really blessed to have the lovely Sister Roseanne from the Sisters of the Gospel of Life with us as our guest. Sister, would you mind introducing yourself and just telling us a little bit about yourself?
No problem. I'm Sister Rosanna, as you said, and I am a Sister of the Gospel of Life based in the south side of Glasgow, and we run the Cardinal Winning Pro-Life Initiative, so our main apostolate is pro-life work.
Sister, I'm going to ask you a series of 10 questions. You just answer the first thing that comes into your mind. Okay, so first question, what is something that is bringing you great joy in lockdown?
Well, the company of Sister Andrea and Catherine, and also just the effort that people are making to keep in touch with other people. You know, so I have even I, who am rubbish at texting, as anybody who knows me will tell you, I'm rubbish at all that kind of thing. Even I am making a bit more of an effort to keep in touch with people. And I think that sense of community is really coming out. So that's a great joy to me to see that.
Sister, who's your favourite saint, and could you tell us why?
Well, I, like a lot of people, have a different favourite saint all the time because it depends, you know, so sometimes. But my all-time favourite, the one I've always been very faithful to, is I love St. Peter, because I think he's a real great saint. Because what I love about him is he's so kind of a, you know, I'll never desert you, these others may leave you, I'll never desert you. And then, of course, the cock crows 3 times and he's denied the Lord. And then he sees the Lord again, he sees the resurrected Lord, and then he still denies him. You know, he goes to Rome, he takes on the challenge, and then he goes to Rome and the going gets tough, and there's Peter running away out of Rome. He sees the Lord again. But the thing I love about Peter is he's very flawed, he's very human. You know, he's a real kind of man's man. He's very direct, he's very whatever. But at the end of the day, for all he ran, for all his faults and his failings, at the end of the day, he did what the Lord asked of him, and at the end of the day, he died for the Lord, and so I find that very inspiring. But other than that, my saints change all the time. St. John Paul II is a great saint for us. That's who we're named after, an encyclical he wrote, and this crucifix which we wear is the one that John Paul always had, that's recognised as his, and so he's very special to us as well.
Wow, I love St. John Paul II. I didn't realise that the crucifix was that, but that's really cool. Okay, a bit of a silly question. Do you prefer Facebook or Instagram?
Well, I'm not on Instagram, although I keep, anybody that talks to me about it, and I try and get people to tell me what it is, and they go, well, it's all just pictures. And I think, I am of that generation that think, why are you putting a picture of your dinner on Facebook? Why? Instead of being interested. I'll look into it, but for the moment, Facebook's enough for me.
Tell us something that you can't live without, something that's really important to you.
Well, of course, the thing that we all miss most is the Blessed Sacrament. You know, we all miss Mass and we go to daily Mass, obviously, and that I really miss. But even in missing it, there's certain graces there. You know, the spiritual communion thing's fantastic. The other thing I'm really missing, sad to say, I'm really missing the football.
If you could be the patron saint of anything, what would you be and why?
Well, I'd like to be, if I could be the patron saint of anything, it would be pro-life. You know, it would be, I'd like to be known as a pro-life saint, as a saint who defended life. That's the cause that's closest to my heart. It's where I've given my life to, and it's what I really believe in. So I'd like to encourage people to always, you know, be brave and speaking out about pro-life stuff. And I'd like to be remembered, if anything, as a patron saint of that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. What was the last book or TV show you read or watched?
Well, we're always saying in the house that if they ever looked at my history, you know, what I watched, they'd be horrified. But last night, because I like all these murder things, you know, I like murder mysteries, I like all sorts, all that true crime, all that kind of stuff. It's bizarre. But last night, funnily enough, on a Wednesday night during lockdown, we've been having a wee movie night in the convent. And so last night, bizarrely, we watched Skyfall. I'm not a huge big James Bond fan, but actually it was quite good to have a piece of complete nonsense. And I love the fact that it ends up in Scotland, you know, in the Highlands of Scotland and Perthshire, which I really love that whole area. So that makes me happy. That was the last thing that we watched last night.
My dad would love that. If we watch Skyfall tonight, he'll be over the moon. Sister, when do you feel most happy?
I feel most happy in front of the Blessed Sacrament. We have a holy hour every morning, and thankfully we still have the Blessed Sacrament in the house reserved. We have a wee oratory in the house, and so every morning we have luckily we're having a wee hour later these days, but that'll stop when we go back to normal. But just being there in front of the Blessed Sacrament for an hour is the hour of the day that I couldn't live without.
And what would you say is your biggest pet peeve?
My biggest pet peeve, it drives me mad when people don't say what they mean. You know, my thing is, say what you mean what you say, make your yes mean yes and your no mean no. I'm one of these people, if you want to get from A to Z, you take a straight road. And you know, some people are much more creative and they kind of talk, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So that's my pet peeve, when people are vague, or when people are kind of, you know, I quite like that straight road. That just tell me what you mean, and then I'll give you a yes or a no, but don't confuse me with too much. So.
And you mentioned adoration. Do you have a favourite way to pray?
Well, funnily enough, my favourite way to pray is in front of the Blessed Sacrament, and usually I always like to kneel, but because I've had a problem with my foot and I had to have a big operation and stuff, it's the one thing I can't do. I can't actually kneel. And so I really miss that. I really find that difficult, because I always just liked that way of praying. But really just in front of the Blessed Sacrament and in conversation with God. I'm not very good at that. I'm not a very pious person. I'd like to be more pious. You know, I'm not great at sitting saying lots of prayers. We do the Divine Office every day, and I love that, and I wouldn't be without that. But when I'm just doing my personal prayer, I really like just conversational prayer, and I do like imaginative prayer, like the kind of Ignatius stuff, you know, where you try to put yourself into that situation of being there. Probably because I've got quite a vivid imagination, you know, that I quite like that kind of prayer.
I love that kind of prayer to Ignatian meditation. Is one of my favourites.
Most helpful, you know.
Definitely. I have one last question before we go. Do you have a message that you would like to pass on to the people?
I suppose my message would be, as my message always is to people, is to seize the day, take the opportunities. This lockdown thing has been incredible for all of us, you know, but it's happened for a reason, and it would be a shame if we just go back to life without reflecting upon what we've learned through lockdown. You know, like, we've learned a lot about time, we've learned a lot about what's really important in life, and I just hope that people will keep that up, that we won't just go back to ways of you know, of not thinking about others first, of not being socially aware, of not recognising God ultimately, you know, because that's the thing. This whole crisis, I think the thing about it is that it's made us realise that we are powerless. You know, a tiny wee virus, a tiny wee bug, or whatever it is, can knock our world for six. We are not in charge, we are not in control. And those of us who believe know that, because we know God is in charge and He is in control. And so therefore it kind of beholds us to reflect upon that and to give Him the glory and the praise that He is due.
Thank you very much for coming on and being our guest. They were great answers.
Glad you young people are getting so involved as well. It's brilliant. Take care.
Thank you. God bless.